John Wick 4, it's finally here. The fourth in a franchise shouldn't have been a franchise. It's finally here, and hopefully it's the end. It's the death nail of this franchise. It seems to be, at least, because, spoilers, John Wick is toast. I hope this franchise is over. I'm on my knees. I'm begging to anybody that will listen, baby Jesus, please end this franchise, because A, I don't think I can take any more. That's a selfish reason. But B, I don't think this franchise can take any more. Now, is this the best John Wick movie since John Wick? Yeah, I think it is. John Wick 2 and 3 were steep drop-offs in quality from the first one, not because they were poorly choreographed or had bad action or anything like that. They just got caught up in the minutia of trying to develop a franchise out of nothing. And now, finally, with John Wick 4, it seems like we've come back, sort of, to basics, with just an all-out action movie about a guy trying to accomplish one simple task. And now, was that sort of the premise of all of them? Yeah. But this one seems to strip away a lot of the minutia of those other two John Wick movies, 2 and 3, specifically. But, that said, this is still 3 hours long. Could have cut out at least a half hour. At least. And there's 10 minutes at the start you could have cut out. There's like this tacked-on action scene where John Wick is running around in the desert. Could have cut that completely out. Wouldn't have changed nothing. People, but you need that because then other people talk about that later. But who cares? We don't need to see it. Oh, there's the whole scene with Donnie Yen seeing his daughter, and then he gets called into the table, and he's talking to Bill Skarsgård, and he kneels down, and they have this whole scene explaining his backstory and why he's doing this. Didn't need it, and that's a big reason why this is the length it is, and why it doesn't need to be that length, because it just feels the need to over-explain certain elements. And that was a problem with the other John Wicks as well, even the first one, which people hold in high regard, even though it's not a perfect movie. It's not a great action movie. It's a solid one. But all of these movies have the issue of there's a thing. Now we're going to explain exactly what that thing is, exactly what that thing does, how to beat it or how to use it, and then who uses it and why. It's just too much information for a world that doesn't need that much information.
A marker is no small thing, John. For a man to grant a marker to another is to bind a soul to a blood oath.
2 rules that cannot be broken, Jonathan. No blood on continental grounds, and every marker must be honored.
You gave John Wick 7 bullets. The High Table is giving you 7 days.
If you win, the table will honor its word. You will have your freedom. But you won't take it.
Also, everyone talks like Socrates, just laying down mic drop bars. No one talks like this. I can figure out most of what's going on in this movie without you explaining it to me. And that's why it's 3 hours, and that's why it doesn't need to be 3 hours. It's completely bloated and over the top in its length and in its execution, which is another problem I have. Now, this movie's badass. I'm telling you, this movie's a badass movie because it shoots a lot, and people get killed, and there's pulsating, thumping club music throughout the entire runtime. It's one of those movies that tries so hard to tell you that it's cool without really being cool. Aside from some moments. There is some badass cool moments where I was like, that's cool. That's badass. Unlike the other ones, this does a pretty good job of shaking things up here and there. They introduced Donnie Yen, which was a f***ing great idea, because he is awesome in this. Oh, I love Donnie Yen. I love seeing him. He's underrated. And then they introduce a new character who they call Nobody, and he's a guy who can throw his dog at someone and then shoot them with a gun. So that kind of shakes up the action. You got John Wick doing his moving around with his gun like this, going in and out of quarters like this, and then you have a guy who throws his dog at someone and then shoots them with a gun, and then a guy that has a staff and is blind and stabs people. So it shakes it up. The whole thing is a video game. Even from the action down to the story. And the story is mostly John Wick needs to go to places to get things to go to other places. That's basically the story. It's pretty simple.
I want you to find your peace. a good death.
He can't just do those things in chronological order. He has to do that video game trope where you have an objective here and then there's like a gate in front of it, so you have to do all these things around to get to the point. So, oh, there's a gate, I need a key, but oh, the key's held by this guy. Oh, this guy wants me to do a mission. I'll come back, I do the mission, I get the key. And that's almost literally what happens. If you need to challenge Bill Skarsgård to a duel. Okay, how do I do that? Oh, you need to be a part of a family. Okay, how do I do that? Oh, you need to go to this person. Hey, person, what do I do? Oh, go kill this guy for me and then come back and then you're part of the family and then you can challenge him. It's like this big circle around getting to this one thing. It kind of works, I guess. It's barely a story. It's held together by like duct tape, but it's fine because the movie is just an excuse to have 45-minute long action scenes that go on and on and on. And personally, I'm cool with just John Wick shooting at Donnie Yen with a dueling pistol or watching Donnie Yen kill somebody in 3 seconds with a sword. That's more fun to me than running around and dodging corners and flipping around and shooting guys and ducking in and out and going around for like 30 minutes. I don't care about that. That's not fun because it lasts too long. When action lasts too long, the emotional intensity of it is gone. And the stakes feel like they're not that important because it just keeps going and going and going and going. You need stakes for an action scene to work, and there's sometimes when it feels like there's none, especially near the end when he's just trying to get to a dueling thing. And there's 40 minutes of action in between him saying, we're going to do a duel, and we're going to duel. I didn't care about that action because it had no stakes or consequences. Consequences, though, is the theme of the movie. Actions have consequences, and it really nails that home, and it also really nails home the idea that John Wick is nothing more than a gun. And when a gun ceases to shoot at things, it's pointless. It dies. And that's essentially the themes and the statements made in this movie.
You come here thinking there is a way out of this world for you, Mr. Wick. There is not.
Which is refreshing to say the least, because none of the other ones have anything like that. This is the only one that deals with concepts above just being an action movie, and it kind of pulls them off because it kills John Wick at the end. If it didn't, then it would absolutely fall on its face. So please, dear God, do not make a fifth one. The reason it doesn't completely nail that home is because a lot of the consequences to John Wick's actions don't really come back to bite him. There's that Continental Hotel that explodes, but in the end, they just pay for it to bring it back. Okay? There's one guy, a concierge, that gets shot. And he was a minor character on all these movies, so sad. Okay? Who cares? There was another guy, the Osaka, Japan guy, who got killed. Met him for 5 minutes. Don't care that much. Anything else that happens to John Wick, all of his actions that he takes, all the consequences that he bears, aren't really that much. But it also emphasizes John Wick as a character who throughout all 4 of these movies has been nothing more than a guy that shoots people, and we all know it. We like John Wick just because he's basically man with no name who will just shoot people and run around and shoot more people and shoot more people. So once that purpose is served, there is no purpose for the character. So killing him off was the only correct decision to make. And it is interesting and kind of understated how they did it. I mean, he wins the fight, he wins the duel against Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen survives, which is a actions have consequences moment that you could have used to your advantage, but he's a fan favorite already, at least of mine, so it's fine that he didn't kill him. But as soon as he wins the fight, he basically dies and the movie immediately ends. And that's the only way to do it. You got yourself a gun. Yeah. It just is exhausting to listen to a movie try to tell you that it's cool for 3 hours. It's bloated, it's long, and it's not as cool as it thinks it is. It's high on its own supply, and the constant pulsating techno music it drove me crazy. It drove me crazy. My head is pounding still. It was so much. It was too much. If you want to feel like a badass, I guess this movie's for you. But it's just one side of the coin or the other for me. I give it a 5. It's fine. It's going to evaporate from my brain very quickly. I like Donnie Yen, though. I love Donnie Yen, actually. Wow.